The best part of Ethan Miller's day, the one thing that let him decompress after work, was venting to his online girlfriend about the cold-blooded ice queen who ran his life. "Babe, the dragon lady was on my case again today." Her voice note came back instantly, sweet and full of sympathy. "Don't let it get to you, honey. A woman like that is probably just miserable because she'll never find anyone to put up with her." Ethan felt a surge of warmth and validation. He'd found his soulmate. After 3 months of talking, he finally worked up the nerve to send a video call request. The call connected. On the screen, a familiar, impossibly beautiful and ice-cold face appeared. The very same dragon lady he'd just been complaining about. Chapter 1. "Babe, the Ice Queen is trying to ruin my life again. Babe, the Ice Queen was on my case again today." I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat the second I sent the message. A hot knot of anger was lodged in my chest. Just thinking about our VP, Sophia Hayes, made me grind my teeth. This afternoon, just because she didn't like the font color on a single slide in my presentation, she tore my entire proposal to shreds in front of the whole department. How did this aesthetic even get approved at our company? Are you testing my patience or just actively insulting my intelligence? Take it back. Redo it. If I don't see a version I'm satisfied with by the end of the day, you're not going home. Her flawless face was set in a permanent frost, and every word she spoke was like an icicle aimed directly at my heart. My knuckles went white as I gripped the steering wheel. Buzz, buzz. My phone vibrated. I picked it up. It was a voice note from Chloe, my online girlfriend. I tapped play. A sweet, gentle voice, laced with the perfect amount of sympathy, flowed from the speaker. "Oh, honey, don't be angry. It's not worth getting worked up over someone like that. She's probably just bitter because she can't get a date, so she takes it out on handsome, talented guys like you." Instantly, the fire in my chest was extinguished, replaced by a wave of comfort and gratitude. My name is Ethan Miller, and I'm just a regular strategist at an ad agency. Sophia Hayes was parachuted in 3 months ago as the new vice president, making her my direct boss. And Chloe was a girl I'd met on Hinge. We just clicked. It felt like we were on the exact same wavelength. Chloe's arrival in my life, right when Sophia was grinding me into dust, felt like a ray of light in the darkness. She was gentle, thoughtful, and understanding, so perfect she hardly seemed real. The only catch was that she refused to video chat. She'd never even sent me a picture. She claimed to have some body image issues and was worried I'd be disappointed if I saw her. I didn't buy it for a second. From the occasional voice notes she sent, I could hear the confidence and spirit in her voice. A girl like that couldn't possibly be anything but beautiful. I got home, collapsed onto the couch, and continued my rant. She's a cold-blooded monster. The entire department is terrified of her. "Babe, seriously, what kind of guy would ever want to be with a woman like that?" Chloe replied instantly. "Nobody, obviously. Who could handle that attitude? You'd have to worship the ground she walks on." Her voice was laced with a light, teasing tone, like she was calming down a child. I felt a whole lot better. We talked for a long time, moving from Sophia's tyrannical management style to Mark Reynolds, the office suck-up. And that guy, Mark, all he does is follow the Ice Queen around like a lost puppy. It's pathetic. Ugh, I know, people like that are the worst. Total brown nosers. It felt like she absorbed all my negative energy, wrapping it in a blanket of warmth. Before we hung up, she said in a soft, almost flirtatious tone, "Okay, stop thinking about people who make you miserable. Think about me instead. Doesn't that make you feel a little better?" A jolt went through me. "I do," I said, the words tumbling out. "All the time. I wish I could see you right now." The line went quiet for a few seconds. Then, she replied in a whisper. "Me too." In that moment, I was overwhelmed with a sense of pure happiness. Who cared about Sophia Hayes? Who cared about work? I had Chloe. I had everything. Chapter 2. Her advice was scarily good the next morning. I stumbled into the office with dark circles under my eyes. I'd been up too late talking to Chloe and had almost slept through my alarm. My butt had barely hit my chair when the office Slack pinged. It was from Sophia's assistant. "Ethan, Sophia wants to see you in her office." My stomach dropped. This early? It couldn't be about the presentation again, could it? With the enthusiasm of a man walking to the gallows, I knocked on her office door. "Come in." The same cold, emotionless voice. I pushed the door open. Sophia was sitting behind a massive desk, her head bowed over a document. Morning light filtered through the blinds, casting a golden halo around her. I had to admit, the woman was stunning. Her features were so perfect they looked like they were rendered by an AI. Her skin was luminous, and a tailored black power suit made her look completely in command. A beautiful, deadly viper. "Sophia, you want to see me?" She didn't look up, her long fingers turning a page. The Galaxy Gardens project out in the West Loop. The previous lead quit. "You're taking over." I froze. Galaxy Gardens? That wasn't just a project. It was the company's resident hot potato. The client was demanding, the budget was a joke, and the last team had spent 2 months spinning their wheels before the project lead just straight up resigned. And now she was giving it to me? She was throwing me into a dumpster fire. "Sophia, this project, I'm not sure I can." She finally lifted her head, her sharp, almond-shaped eyes fixing on me. "You're not sure you can what? You don't have a skill, or you don't have a confidence." Or, she added, her voice dropping, "Are you questioning my decision?" The triple-barreled attack shut down any protest I had. I took a deep breath. "No, I'll get started right away. Get out." I retreated from her office in disgrace. The moment I was out the door, I ran right into my nemesis, Mark Reynolds. He was leaning against the wall, a smug look on his face. "Well, Ethan, congrats on landing the big Galaxy Gardens account. Sophia must really see something in you. Don't let her down." He clapped me on the shoulder, his tone dripping with sarcasm. I ignored him and walked back to my desk, my head already throbbing. I spent the entire afternoon buried under a mountain of files for Galaxy Gardens, and I was getting nowhere. After work, exhausted and defeated, the first thing I did was call Chloe for backup. I laid out the whole situation, ending with a sigh. "I think I'm going to be cleaning out my desk by the end of the month. The Ice Queen just wants an excuse to fire me." It took her a while to get back to me. This time, it wasn't a voice note. It was a text. "Don't panic. Let's break it down. The biggest problem with this project is that the client wants a moon, right? They want some wildly creative blue sky concept, but they also want it done for pennies on the dollar." I was a little surprised. "Yeah, how did you know?" "Just a guess. That's how most difficult clients are. Here's an idea. Stop trying to come up with one single plan that meets all their demands. Flip it around. Use their own impossible demands to create a creative framework they can't refuse." She followed up with a long message, her logic crisp and clear. She even cited a few similar case studies that had been successful. I stared at my phone screen, my eyes widening. This was professional-grade advice. She was better than our company's own creative director. Suddenly, everything just clicked into place. "Babe, you're a genius. Are you in advertising too?" "Nope. I just like to read about this stuff for fun. You should go try it. It might actually work." I almost jumped off the couch. "Work? It'll definitely work. Babe, you're my guardian angel." I immediately fired up my laptop and started restructuring the proposal based on her outline. I barely slept that night. But the next morning, when I placed a new framework on Sophia Hayes' desk, I saw the first ever crack in her icy facade. She studied it for a long time. Finally, she spoke 3 words. "This has potential." Chapter 3. "Babe, let's video chat. This has potential." Coming from Sophia Hayes, those 3 words carried the weight of a Nobel Prize. I was genuinely floored. The last person she described as adequate had been promoted to department head. When I got back to my desk, even Mark Reynolds was looking at me differently, a mix of jealousy and confusion in his eyes. I was ecstatic, and it was all thanks to Chloe. That night, I treated her to a virtual dinner, ordering a delivery of high-end sushi from her favorite place. She couldn't eat it, of course, but it was the thought that counted. "Babe, you're literally a goddess sent to save me." Sophia, the Ice Queen, didn't yell at me for the first time ever today. I typed excitedly, almost writing out Chloe's real name before I caught myself. "Really? That's great." Chloe's voice note came back, filled with genuine happiness. "I told you, you're so talented. It was only a matter of time before she noticed." No, this was all you," I said sincerely. "Without you, my proposal would be in a recycling bin right now." "Well, how are you going to reward me?" Her voice was playful and teasing. My heart skipped a beat. A bold idea suddenly popped into my head. The moment it appeared, It took root, sending my pulse racing. I wasn't satisfied with just hearing her voice anymore. I wanted to see her. Right now, I took a deep breath, feeling like I was about to make a life-altering decision, and nervously typed out a single line. Babe, can we video chat? I sent the message. It was met with deafening silence. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10. She didn't reply. My stomach sank. Was that too blunt? She said she was anxious about her looks. Was I pressuring her? I quickly sent another message. I'm so sorry, I'm being too pushy. If you don't want it, it's totally fine, Ding. She replied. One word. Okay. I stared at the word okay, feeling like I was dreaming. My heart was pounding against my ribs. I shot up from the couch and rushed to the bathroom, checking my reflection in the mirror. Was my hair a mess? Did I need to shave? Was this t-shirt too old? I frantically took a shower, changed into my nicest button-down shirt, and even put on a little cologne. Then, I adjusted the lighting in my apartment to a soft, flattering angle and sat primly on the couch, feeling like a college grad waiting for a job interview. My palms were slick with sweat as I picked up my phone. I opened our chat and hit the video call button. Ring, ring. Each ring felt like a hammer blow to my chest. My mind raced, imagining what she would look like. Was she cute, quiet, artsy? Whatever she looked like, I already knew I would like her. Suddenly, the ringing stopped. The screen read, connected. My breath caught in my throat. Here we go. The screen went black for a second. My heart leaped into my throat. Then, the image flickered to life. A face I knew all too well slammed into view. It was a face of exquisite beauty, but also of extreme, unyielding cold. Her features were a masterwork, utterly flawless. Even through the camera, her skin was pale and translucent, glowing like cool jade. Beneath long, curled lashes, a pair of sharp, almond-shaped eyes stared back at me. And in those eyes was a flicker of something I couldn't quite decipher. A playful, knowing smile. My brain short-circuited. Everything went blank. Time seemed to freeze. The phone in my hand suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The person on the other end of the screen was Sophia Hayes, my boss, the Ice Queen I complained about 800 times a day. How could she be my Chloe? This was impossible. Absolutely impossible. I had to be hallucinating from all the overtime. I blinked hard, hoping the image would vanish. It didn't. Sophia held the same expression, even raising an eyebrow at the camera. I recognized her background, too. That gray wall, the expensive piece of abstract art hanging on it. It was her office. A ridiculous, yet terrifyingly clear thought struck me like a bolt of lightning. My online girlfriend, Chloe, was Sophia Hayes, the soulmate who listened to me complain about her, who joined in on calling herself an ice queen, a psycho, and undateable. Was her. A chill shot up from the soles of my feet and encased my entire body in ice. I thought back to every single thing I had ever said to Chloe. Babe, the Ice Queen was on my case again today. A woman like that is probably just miserable because she'll never find anyone. She's a cold-blooded monster. And that guy, Mark, all he does is follow the Ice Queen around like a lost puppy. It's pathetic. I was done. My life, as I knew it, was officially over. I could already picture myself being frog-marched out of the office tomorrow morning. No, I probably wouldn't even last until tomorrow. This was it. Right here, right now. I looked at Sophia's smirk through the screen and felt like a mouse cornered by a cat. Even struggling was pointless. My lips trembled. I couldn't form a single word. Just as I was about to hang up, sell my stuff, and flee the state, the expression on Sophia's face shifted. The playful smirk slowly faded. It was replaced by an emotion I had never seen on her face before. Something complex. She was watching the pale, terrified face on her screen. She saw the shock in my eyes, the shame, and a sliver of pain from the betrayal. Her own eyes seemed to flicker. All this time, she must have been like a hunter, watching with amusement as her prey, me, danced around, completely oblivious to her trap. It must have been fun. But now, seeing my total breakdown in real time on this tiny screen, the game suddenly didn't seem so fun anymore. In fact, it looked a little cruel. The hard line of her lips seemed to soften. She watched me in silence for a long time. Then she spoke, her voice no longer the sweet, gentle tone of Chloe, nor the sharp, biting tone of Sophia Hayes, but something in between, uncertain and hesitant. Ethan, did we take this too far? Chapter 5. Sophia, what do you want from me? Her words were like a pinprick, popping the overinflated balloon of my tension. I snapped back to reality. My first instinct wasn't to answer her. It was to slam the end call button with lightning speed. The phone slipped from my sweaty hand and fell onto the soft rug. I collapsed back onto the sofa, gasping for air. My brain was still mush. A game? She thought this was a game? She was playing me. Anger, shame, disbelief, and an indescribable sense of betrayal washed over me. What was I to her? A fool to keep her entertained? A clown to laugh at after work? I fumbled for a cigarette, my hands shaking so badly it took several tries to light it. Through the smoke, Sophia's face and Chloe's sweet voice swirled together in my mind, tearing me apart. Buzz. Buzz. My phone vibrated again. I looked down. A message from Chloe. No, from Sophia. I am sorry. Just 2 words. I stared at them and felt a bitter, ironic laugh build in my chest. Sorry? That was it. The anger flared up again. I snatched my phone and my thumbs flew across the screen. What do you want from me, Sophia? Was it fun messing with my head? Did you get a good laugh every night, listening to me complain to you about you? I sent the messages. The other end went silent. I paced my living room, agitated. About 10 minutes later, she replied, I wasn't messing with you. I'll admit, when I first realized it was you, I thought it was a little interesting, but it didn't stay that way. It didn't stay that way? What did that even mean? I scoffed, about to fire back another question. Another message from her came through. Come to my office tomorrow morning. We'll talk in person. Talk in person? About what? The logistics of my termination package? I tossed my phone aside and stared at the ceiling all night. The next day, for the first time ever, I was late. When I walked into the office, everyone stared at me. I ignored them and made a beeline for my desk. Mark Reynolds materialized beside me, his face a mask of fake concern. Ethan, where have you been? Sophia was just looking for you. You better watch out. She seems like she's in a really bad mood today. I'll bet, I thought, a cold sneer on my face. I ignored him, sat down, and stared blankly at my computer screen. I was waiting for Sophia to deliver my death sentence. Would she let me resign gracefully, or would she have security escort me out? 10 minutes later, the Slack message arrived, right on schedule. Ethan, my office. Now. I stood up. As my coworkers watched with pity, I walked toward the office that now felt like a lion's den. This time, the feeling was worse than walking to the gallows. I knocked. Come in. I pushed the door open. Sophia was sitting behind her desk. She did look tired, with faint shadows under her eyes. Looked like she hadn't slept well either. Good. Her expression was complicated as she watched me. I stopped about 10 feet away from her desk, my chin up like a soldier ready to face the firing squad. Sophia, you wanted to see me. My voice was dry, laced with the fearlessness of someone with nothing left to lose. Whatever you have to say, just say it. I can take it. Do you want me to resign? Or are you just going to fire me? Let's get this over with. Sophia frowned at my scorched earth attitude. She was silent for a moment, then stood and walked around her desk. The click of her heels on the hardwood floor sounded like a countdown, each step landing on my already frayed nerves. She stopped right in front of me. A faint, pleasant perfume wafted toward me. It was the same one Chloe had told me she'd just bought. A sharp pain lanced through my chest. Ethan, she began, her voice soft. I was never going to fire you. I was stunned. Then what? I just wanted to explain. She looked me in the eye. For the first time, those sharp, icy eyes held a trace of uncertainty. I originally made that account out of boredom. Matching with you was a coincidence. Finding out who you were was an even bigger one. I was going to delete you immediately, but... She paused, as if searching for the right words. But that day, you just happened to be complaining to me about the Ice Queen. And I couldn't resist. I stared at her, my jaw tight. So this whole thing started on a whim. And what about later? I pressed. The advice for the Galaxy Gardens project. Was that a whim too? No, she said immediately. I genuinely thought that approach would work for you and for the project. She seemed to struggle with the words. I just didn't know how to tell you. So you used Chloe? I scoffed. Don't you think that's a little twisted, Sophia? Tearing me down in the office all day, then building me up online at night. Doesn't that exhaust you? My words were knives. The color drained from her face. She looked down, her long lashes casting shadows on her cheeks. I am sorry. She said it again. If you can't accept this and you want to resign, I won't stop you. I'll have HR double your salary and bonus for the month. Consider it. Compensation. With that, she turned to walk back to her desk. Seeing her slumping shoulders, her look of defeat, something in my chest twisted. The anger and shame were still there. But a new, more complicated feeling was spreading through me. On impulse, I spoke. I'm not quitting. Sophia froze. She spun around, her eyes wide with surprise. I met her gaze and said, word by word, I took on this project and I'm going to see it through. It's about professional integrity. As for you, I paused, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. Let's just keep things the way they were, Sophia. We'll pretend none of this ever happened. Without looking at her again, I turned and walked out of the office. I knew it was a lie. There was no going back. Not with Sophia, and not with Chloe. It was over. Chapter 6, The Awkward New Normal. Saying we'd pretend none of this ever happened was just a way of lying to myself. Everything had changed. The very air in the office felt thick and strange the next day. I did my best to avoid any direct contact with Sophia. If I needed to report on my progress, I sent an email. If I needed her signature, I gave the documents to her assistant. I even cut back on my trips to the break room, terrified of running into her. But it seemed like she had no intention of letting me off the hook that easily. One morning, I arrived at my desk to find a steaming hot coffee waiting for me. It was my usual order, a dark roast with an extra shot of espresso, no sugar. I paused, then asked the guy at the next desk, who left this? He shrugged. No idea. I think Sophia's assistant was over here a minute ago. I stared at the coffee, a war of emotions raging inside me. To drink or not to drink. In the end, I didn't touch it. By noon, it was cold. That afternoon, I was hitting a wall with a creative concept for Galaxy Gardens when an anonymous email landed in my inbox. It contained a single attachment. I opened it. It was a case study on immersive experiences with sharp analysis and a novel perspective that was the perfect solution to my problem. The sender's address was just a jumble of letters and numbers, but the document's formatting style was identical to Sophia's presentations. I stared at the screen, my feelings a tangled mess. What was she doing? Trying to make up for it? Apologize? Or was this just another way of reminding me that she was everywhere? I felt like a puppet on a string, and it was a terrible feeling. What made it worse was that Mark Reynolds had the predatory instincts of Shark. He'd somehow sensed that something was up between us and started hovering around my desk. You're on a roll, Ethan, he said, his voice oozing with fake admiration. I don't know what you did, but you sure got Sophia in a good mood. She barely even yells in meetings anymore. I ignored him, but he pressed on. Let me give you some friendly advice. A woman like Sophia is nice to look at, but don't get any ideas. You and her, you're not in the same league. That was it. I'd had enough. Mark, don't you have anything better to do? If you have this much free time, maybe you should go work on your own proposals instead of trying to copy other people's. My jab hit its mark. I hadn't forgotten that he'd tried to steal one of my ideas last quarter. Mark's face turned beet red. What? What's that supposed to mean? It means nothing, I said, turning back to my screen. Work had become a minefield. So had my life. The Chloe account had gone completely dark. I hadn't logged in either. But every night, I'd find myself picking up my phone and staring at her grayed-out profile picture. I realized with a jolt that I kind of missed her. Not Sophia, the boss from hell, but Chloe, the girl who would comfort me with her sweet voice when I was feeling down. Even knowing it was all an act, a persona she created. The warmth and comfort I had felt were real. Was I nostalgic for a fantasy? I ran my hands through my hair in frustration. Just then, my phone screen lit up. A profile picture I thought I'd never see again popped up with a new notification. It was Chloe, or rather, it was Sophia. She sent one message. Just one word. Hey, my heart skipped a beat. Chapter 7, The Disastrous First Date. I stared at the word hey for a full minute. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, typing and deleting. Should I respond? My logical brain told me to block the account, delete the chat, and go back to a strictly professional relationship. But my heart felt a flicker of hope. In the end, I typed back one word. Yeah, she replied almost instantly. How's the Galaxy Gardens proposal coming along? I frowned. Back to work talk. I replied, a little annoyed, hit a snag. Did you see the email I sent you? Yeah. Did it help? A little. The conversation was stilted, full of a formal distance that was a stark contrast to the easy intimacy we used to share. She went silent. Just as I thought the conversation was over, another message came through. Are you free this weekend? My heart stuttered. Why? I'd like to take you out to dinner. As an apology. Dinner? My mind immediately conjured an image of Sophia and me sitting across from each other in a restaurant, the silence so thick you could cut it with a knife. My first instinct was to say no. You don't have to do that, Sophia. Don't call me Sophia, she typed back. And don't call me Chloe. Call me Sophia Hayes. Saturday, 7 p.m. at Aria. I'll see you there. She didn't even give me a chance to refuse, just sent the time and address. Bossy. Assertive. Classic Sophia. On Saturday, I procrastinated for hours. Should I go? If I did, what would we even talk about? If I didn't, would she think I was petty? In the end, I changed my clothes and drove to the restaurant. Aria was a high-end, elegant place with a quiet ambience. Sophia was already there when I arrived. She wasn't wearing a power suit. Instead, she had on a simple white dress, and her hair was down, softening the sharp lines of her face. She looked less like a corporate shark and more gentle. She was wearing little to no makeup, which made her look younger and more real. I'll admit, for a second, I was completely captivated. Sit, she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. I sat down, feeling stiff and awkward. A waiter began bringing out the food. Every dish was exquisite, and every dish was one of my favorites. I knew, with a sinking feeling, that this was Chloe's doing. Eat, she said. I picked up my fork and started eating, but the food tasted like cardboard. The atmosphere was painfully awkward. Neither of us spoke. The only sound was the soft clinking of silverware. The meal was more stressful than a quarterly review. Finally, Sophia broke the silence. So, is everything at work going okay? Great. We were back to work. It's fine, I said. Has Mark bothered you again? No. Good. And then another crushing silence. I couldn't take it anymore. I put down my fork and looked at her. Sophia, or Sophia Hayes. If you only asked me here tonight to talk about this, then I think we're done. Sophia put her fork down too. She looked at me, a hint of helplessness in her eyes. And was that? A little bit of hurt. I don't know what to say, she said quietly. When we were online, it felt like I could say anything. But now, looking at you in person, she trailed off, but I understood. A strange feeling stirred in my chest. So she got nervous too. She felt awkward too. Then a crazy impulse took over, and I blurted out, well, you don't have to be so nervous. Just pretend. You're complaining to your employee about your Ice Queen boss. The second the words were out, I regretted them. Wasn't that just rubbing salt in the wound? Sophia stared at me, blinking. A few seconds passed, and then she laughed. It wasn't a polite corporate chuckle or a cold, fake smile. It was a real, genuine laugh, bright and clear. It was like a frozen lake cracking in the spring. I was mesmerized. I had never seen her laugh like that before. So this is what the Ice Queen looked like when she laughed. She was beautiful. She laughed until her eyes sparkled with tears. Ethan, you are really something else, she said, shaking her head as if she couldn't find the words to describe me. Aren't you afraid I'll get mad and have you transferred to a cubicle in the basement tomorrow? She joked. Seeing the smile still lingering on her face, I felt a little bolder, terrified, but I have a feeling. Chloe wouldn't do that. I deliberately emphasized the name Chloe. Sophia's face, in a fascinating and visible progression, turned bright red. Chapter 8. Mark's Revenge. That awkward dinner, surprisingly, became a turning point. It was like a switch had been flipped for Sophia. For the first time, she started talking about herself. She told me about how lonely she was when she studied abroad, about the pressure and skepticism she faced when she first joined the company. She said she had to act tougher and colder than everyone else just to earn the respect of the senior employees who resented her. You know, I'm actually jealous of you, she said suddenly. Jealous of me? I was stunned. For what? For getting chewed out by you every day. I'm jealous that you're allowed to have feelings, she said, looking at me with a vulnerability I'd never seen before. You can complain, you can vent. You have someone to talk to. I don't. In that moment, the last of my resentment toward her evaporated. I wasn't looking at the Ice Queen boss or the fake online persona of Chloe. I was seeing the real Sophia, a person who also felt lonely and tired. After that night, our relationship settled into a delicate new balance. At the office, she was still the decisive, no-nonsense VP, and I was just another employee. But after hours, we would talk using the Chloe account. We talked about work, about life, and sometimes we'd even share a joke. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction. But I had forgotten about the ticking time bomb named Mark Reynolds. He seemed convinced that there was something going on between Sophia and me. The look he gave me each day grew more and more venomous. The Galaxy Gardens project with Sophia's anonymous guidance was progressing at lightning speed. The client loved the final proposal and signed the contract almost immediately. To celebrate the win, the company scheduled a department meeting where I was supposed to present my work as a case study. This was basically painting a giant target on my back. I knew Mark wouldn't miss an opportunity like this. On the day of the meeting, I was fully prepared. I walked up to the podium and opened my presentation, feeling confident. But when I got to the core creative slides, my blood ran cold. The key pages of my presentation had been replaced by corrupted files, showing nothing but garbled text. A murmur went through the conference room. My mind went blank, and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. How could this happen? I had double-checked the file just last night. I frantically clicked around, tried to restore the presentation, but it was useless. Just then, Mark Reynolds stood up coolly. "Everyone, stay calm," he said with a smug smile, holding up a flash drive. Ethan must be a little nervous and forgot to prepare properly. As it happens, I had a few ideas for this project myself. Why don't I help fill in the blanks? With that, he walked up and plugged his flash drive into the laptop. A moment later, his presentation was on the big screen, and displayed on it were my missing slides. My core creative concept, identical. He had stolen my proposal and deleted my files. Every eye in the room was on me. Some looked at me with pity, some with contempt, some with undisguised glee. I felt like I had been stripped naked and thrown out into the snow. I was shaking with rage. I pointed at Mark. That's my idea." Mark held up his hands in a gesture of mock innocence. "Whoa there, Ethan. Let's not make baseless accusations. Everyone here can see that this is my presentation. How could it be yours? Are you just upset because I beat you to the punch?" He was a shameless, pathological liar. I was speechless. I looked around the room for support. My colleagues avoided my gaze. Finally, my eyes landed on Sophia. She was sitting in the front row, her face an unreadable mask. My heart sank. Would she believe me? Or would she just assume I was incompetent, unable to even keep a file safe? Mark had already launched into a presentation of his idea. He stumbled through it, his explanation full of holes, but most people in the room couldn't tell the difference. All they saw was that Mark had a presentation, and I had nothing. I was finished, this time for real. Chapter 9. The Ice Queen and the Sweetheart Strike Back. Just as I had resigned myself to defeat, to the utter humiliation of it all, Sophia spoke. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like a thunderclap, silencing everyone. Mark stopped his clumsy presentation and looked at Sophia with a fawning smile. "Yes, Sophia. Do you have a question?" Sophia didn't look at him. Her eyes were fixed on the presentation on the screen. "This Starlight Stroll concept is interesting. I'd like you to elaborate on your source of inspiration and how it connects to the client's core request of rediscovering the magic of childhood." Her question was sharp, professional, and aimed at the heart of the concept. The smile on Mark's face froze. He was a thief. He had no idea what the deeper connection was. "Well, the inspiration. It just came to me one night when I was looking at the stars." He stammered, his words nonsensical. A cold, sharp smile touched Sophia's lips. "Is that so? And on the execution side, you mentioned interactive holographic projections. Which vendor on the market is the most advanced? Are you familiar with their pricing and technical limitations? How much of that can we cover with our current budget?" The questions came one after another, a rapid-fire assault that left Mark defenseless. Sweat beaded on his forehead, and his face went pale. Well, this is just an initial concept. I haven't worked out the details yet. Really? Sophia asked again. Then she turned her head, and her eyes met mine. In that instant, the focus of the entire room shifted back to me. Ethan, I'll ask you answer. You still here, son? Sophia held my gaze, her eyes filled with an unquestioning encouragement and trust. My heart hammered against my ribs. I took a deep breath and stood up straight. Sophia repeated the same questions she had asked Mark. I answered without hesitation. The inspiration comes from a story about the founder's childhood dream, which I conceptualized as the Starlight Stroll to evoke a sense of nostalgia that aligns perfectly with the rediscovering childhood theme. As for the holographic technology, the industry leader is Phantom FX. Their latest generation can achieve millimeter-level interactive precision. I've already had preliminary talks with them, and they can offer a customized package that fits our budget. We'd sacrifice some resolution, but the core experience would remain intact. I spoke confidently, laying out every detail, every piece of data, every thought process. When I finished, the room was completely silent. Everyone stared at me, then at the ashen-faced Mark. The truth was obvious. Sophia stood up, holding her phone. She walked to the front and connected it to the projector. A chat window appeared on the screen. It was my conversation with Chloe. Babe, I have an idea. Can you look it over for me? Below, it was the full draft proposal I had sent her. The timestamp on the file was from 3 days ago. Sophia's voice was clear and cold as it echoed through the silent room. Ethan sent me this draft proposal 3 days ago. I told him to keep it quiet because I wanted to see who in this company was playing these kinds of games. Now, I think the answer is pretty clear. She turned off the projector, her gaze as sharp as a razor as she fixed it on Mark. Mark, are you going to walk to HR yourself? Or should I call security? Mark's legs gave out, and he nearly collapsed. He was pale and trembling, unable to say a word. In the end, he was dragged out of the room by 2 security guards. The crisis was over. I stood at the podium, looking at the woman who had just saved me. She had used our secret to give me the most powerful defense possible in front of everyone. In that moment, she was both the ruthless Ice Queen and the supportive, brilliant Chloe. The 2 versions of her merged into one in my eyes, completely and perfectly. After the meeting, the office was buzzing. The way my colleagues looked at me had changed from pity to respect, and maybe even a little envy. I didn't care about any of that. All I could think about was Sophia. I rushed out of the conference room and caught up with her at the end of the hall. So, Faya. It was the first time I had ever said her full name at the office during the day. She stopped and turned around. The hallway was empty, and sunlight streamed through the window, making her look almost ethereal. Thank you, I said, my voice full of gratitude. If it hadn't been for her, my career would have been over. Don't mention it, she said, her eyes bright. I was just stating the facts. Besides, she paused, a small smile playing on her lips. I can't let anyone bully my people. My people. Those 2 words sent ripples through my heart. My pulse quickened. I looked at her, at the light dancing in her eyes, at the faint blush rising on her cheeks as I stared. A thought erupted from the deepest part of me, and I couldn't hold it back any longer. I used to think I was in love with the fake Chloe, but I was wrong. I loved the girl who comforted me with sweet words when I was down. I also loved the woman who was sharp, decisive, and brilliant at her job. And I loved, more than anything, the person who would stand up and protect me when it mattered most. All of those people were Sophia. I was in love with a real, complete Sophia who could laugh and blush, who could feel lonely and vulnerable. I took a deep breath and stepped closer to her. Sophia Hayes. I said her name, my voice a little hoarse with nerves. I think I'm falling for you. Her body went rigid. Her beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. I didn't give her a chance to respond. I kept going. Not for Chloe, and not because you're my boss. It's just me, Ethan, falling for you, Sophia. So, I summoned every ounce of courage I had and looked directly into her eyes. Sophia Hayes, will you be my girlfriend? The air seemed to solidify. I could hear my own heart pounding in my ears. Sophia just stared at me, silent. Her expression was a whirlwind of emotions. Shock, joy, hesitation, and a little bit of panic. After what felt like an eternity, she gave a slow, tiny nod. Then, in a voice barely louder than a whisper, she said one word. Okay. I felt like I'd been hit by a firework, a burst of light and joy that sent me soaring. Did I hear that right? She said yes. I looked at her face, now completely flushed, and my heart melted. My body acted before my brain could catch up. I reached out and pulled her into my arms. She felt so soft, and her scent was intoxicating. I held her tight, feeling like I was holding the entire world. What? What are you doing? We're at the office, she stammered, trying to squirm out of my embrace. I didn't let go. I held her even tighter. I buried my face in the crook of her neck and took a deep breath. Then I whispered in her ear, so only she could hear, "Babe, the Ice Queen was on my case again today. Her punishment is that I have to hold her for the rest of my life." The woman in my arms instantly went still. A few seconds later, I felt her arms slowly wrap around my waist. What's it like to date your boss? Thrilling. Absolutely thrilling. After that day in the hallway, Sophia and I began our secret, high-stakes office romance. During the day, she was still the untouchable queen, and I was just one of her soldiers. We communicated with glances, with hidden meanings in emails. When she would sweep her eyes over me in a meeting, I knew she was telling me, pay attention, don't daydream. When I'd hand her a document, I'd draw a tiny heart on the last page. She would see it, close the folder with a straight face, but the tips of her ears would turn pink, giving her away. This dance on the edge of a knife was an exhilarating part of our relationship. Of course, we had a few close calls. One time, we ran into each other in the break room when no one else was around. She was getting coffee, and I pretended to be looking for a cup. As I walked past her, I quickly grabbed her hand. It was soft and a little cool. I felt a jolt of pure joy. But less than a second later, the door swung open. A colleague walked in, holding a mug. We jumped apart like we'd been electrocuted, both trying to act casual. I pretended to be intensely interested in the selection of herbal teas, while she acted fascinated by the coffee machine. I could feel my heart beating so fast, I thought it would jump out of my chest. After the colleague left, we looked at each other, and I saw the same mix of relief and amusement in her eyes. Too close, she mouthed silently. I nodded, mouthing back, but fun. She rolled her eyes, but a smile played on her lips as she walked away, coffee in hand. The way she looked at me in that moment left me breathless. After work was our real time together. We stopped going to fancy restaurants and instead did what normal couples do. We explored night markets, went to the movies, and ate from food trucks. I discovered that, without her corporate armor, Sophia was just a regular girl. She would close her eyes in delight after a bite of a particularly good taco. She would cry her eyes out at sad movies, using my shoulder as a tissue. She would get adorably frustrated when she couldn't win a prize from the claw machine. Whenever that happened, I would step in and use my skills to snag the stuffed animal she wanted. The look of pure adoration on her face as she hugged the prize was more satisfying than any career achievement. "Ethan, you're amazing. Just your average, world-class claw machine champion," I'd say with a cocky grin. "By the way," she'd say, leaning in a whisper in my ear, "during the meeting this afternoon, were you complaining about me in your head again?" My heart would jump. "No, of course not." "Really?" She'd narrow her eyes, feigning suspicion, because your expression definitely said, "Here goes the Ice Queen with another one of her long speeches." "You wound me." I'd cry out dramatically. "I was admiring your beauty. I was captivated by your intelligence." "Oh, please," she'd huff, but she wouldn't be able to hide the smile spreading across her face. We'd walk hand in hand through the bustling city streets. The evening breeze would catch her hair, and the neon lights would dance in her eyes. I'd look at her profile and feel like I was living in a dream. A crazy, wonderful dream that had started with a bizarre online dating mix-up and had somehow led to this sweet, incredible reality. I squeezed her hand tighter. This was one dream I never wanted to wake up from. Chapter 12. Babe, tell me in person. After the massive success of the Galaxy Gardens project, my star at the company began to rise. True to her word, Sophia promoted me to lead the strategy team. The day it was announced, the whole department insisted I take them out to celebrate. Naturally, I agreed. We all ended up at a karaoke bar, and the private room was pure chaos. As the guest of honor, Sophia was there too. She sat quietly in a corner, sipping a juice, a small smile on her face as she watched the madness unfold. A few of the newer guys, emboldened by alcohol, tried to chat her up, but her icy glare sent them scurrying away. I watched from across the room, secretly amused. Halfway through the night, I stepped out to use the restroom. On my way back, I ran into her in the hallway. She seemed to be coming from the same direction, a faint blush on her cheeks from a single drink she'd had. "What are you doing out here?" I asked. "It's too loud. I needed some air," she said. The hallway was dimly lit, and the sound of terrible singing was muffled. It was just the two of us. The atmosphere immediately shifted, becoming charged and intimate. I looked at her, slightly flushed and beautiful, and felt a familiar pull. I couldn't resist stepping closer. "A little tipsy, Miss Hayes?" "Not at all," she said, though her eyes were sparkling. "Really? Let me test you." I reached out and gently tilted her chin up, making her look at me. "Who am I?" She looked at me, her eyes like two bright stars. She didn't say anything. Instead, she stood on her toes and gave me a quick, soft peck on the lips. Then she pulled back, her face turning a deep crimson. "You're my idiot." Before I could react, she turned and hurried back into the karaoke room, leaving me alone in the hallway with my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Our relationship became the worst-kept secret in the office. We never made an official announcement, but everyone knew. We could see it in their knowing smiles and friendly glances. No one thought I'd gotten the promotion through favoritism. They had all seen what I could do. They just thought we made a good couple. I thought so too. One evening, I was walking out of the office building when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Sophia. "What are you complaining about today?" I smiled, my thumbs flying across the screen. "I'm complaining that your meeting ran late, and I missed the barbecue pulled pork in the cafeteria. I'm complaining that the dress you wore today was so beautiful it made me lose focus during the presentation. And I'm also complaining that..." Before I could finish, a new message popped up. "Don't text me. Tell me in person." I paused and looked up. Across the street, leaning against her familiar silver Maserati, was a stunning, elegant figure. Sophia was standing there, watching me. She had taken off her suit jacket and was wearing a simple white silk blouse. The golden light of the setting sun wrapped around her, making her glow. On her face was a soft, genuine smile that was reserved only for me. I looked at her and broke into a grin. I put my phone away and walked toward her. My ice queen boss, my soulmate, Chloe, my girlfriend, Sophia Hayes. She was waiting to go home with me.